What if I told you that listening to your spouse could be the key to fewer arguments, deeper connections, and a stronger marriage? And think about it. When was the last time that you felt truly heard? Like someone wasn't just waiting for their turn to talk, but actually cared about what you had to say? Or look at it this way. Would you like your husband or wife, or maybe even your kids, to talk to you more? Well, the way to get them to open up and talk might have something to do with your ability to listen. In this recording, I'm going to encourage and equip you to be a generous listener, both in your marriage and in other areas of life. And I'm going to give you 4 suggestions on how to do that. Hi, I'm Kelly Dupay, pastor, police chaplain, Christian marriage coach, and author of the book, Turn It Up: How to Have the Lifelong Marriage That You Really Want. Listening is one of the most powerful ways that we can be generous in our marriage. We often think of generosity in terms of gifts or giving our time or maybe serving. But one of the greatest gifts we can give our spouse is our full attention, our patience, and our willingness to understand them. James 1:19 in the Bible gives us the clear foundation of what it means to be a generous listener. It says this: everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Too often we do the opposite, don't we? I certainly do. We're quick to react, eager to respond, and slow to truly hear what our spouse wants to say, to really connect and hear what's on their heart. But generous listening, the kind of listening that strengthens love and trust, means offering more than just our ears. It means giving our full presence, our patience, and our care. So how do we practice generous listening? Well, here's 4 key principles. Principle number 1 is this: be generous with your attention. Proverbs 18:2 says, "A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion." You see, when you're eager to just jump in there and tell everybody what you think, guess what? The more you're talking, you're not listening. Many of us, though, listen just to reply rather to understand. When your spouse is speaking, we're often distracted, thinking about what we're going to say next, checking our phone, or maybe mentally reviewing our to-do list. You're not really paying attention. Well, generous listening means giving your spouse the gift of your full attention. It means putting down distractions, making eye contact, and truly engaging with what they're saying. One simple way to practice this is to pause before speaking. Instead of jumping in with advice or rebuttals, take a moment and ask yourself, am I really listening, or am I just waiting for my turn to talk? Well, giving your spouse your undivided attention shows them that they are valuable. And when you understand what they're speaking, what they're going through, that's how you can resolve tension and arguments and find a place of agreement when both of you are understanding the other. Principle number 2 is this: be generous with your patience. 1 Corinthians 13:4, that famous love chapter in the Bible, tells us that love is patient. And I know this is a hard one, but you can do it. You see, generous listening means being patient, even when the conversations are difficult, even when you're tired, and even when you think you already know what they're going to say. Sometimes your spouse may struggle to find the right words. Other times they may express emotions in a way that's frustrating or unclear. But instead of rushing them or interrupting them, generous listening gives them the space to verbally process what's in their heart, their emotions, their thoughts. Being patient also means resisting the urge to correct or to fix things. Even if you don't agree with everything they say, honor their feelings, validate that. A simple response like, "I understand why you feel that way," can be far more powerful than immediately offering solutions. Remember, if you want to help, listening is helping. Jesus showed extraordinary patience when listening to people, to us. He gave them time, asked them questions, and truly cared about their hearts. Well, we can follow his example by offering our spouse the same patient love. By the way, if you'd like more suggestions on how to communicate better with your spouse, I have a free download for you. It's my couples communication guide. I'll put the link in the description so you can order it today. Principle number 3 is this: be generous with your understanding. Proverbs 20, verse 5 says, "The purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out." In other words, it's focusing on understanding, not just hearing. And that's what generous listening is all about. It's not just hearing words, it's about seeking to understand what's in your spouse's heart. When your spouse speaks, your goal should not be to fix, debate, or defend, but simply to understand. So tell yourself that when he or she starts speaking to you next time, just say, you know what? I want to understand. And one of the best ways to do this is this simple phrase. Start it with "what I hear you saying is," and then summarize what your spouse just said and what you think they might be feeling. For example, if your spouse says, "I don't feel like you appreciate everything I do around the house," or "I don't feel like you appreciate me," instead of getting defensive, you can respond with, "Well, what I hear you saying is that you feel unappreciated and like I don't notice what you do around the house. Is that right?" And asking those last 3 words, "Is that correct?" or "Is that right?" is really huge, because then what they can do is clarify, or they can add more to it. This simple practice does 2 things. It shows your spouse that you care enough to truly hear them, and it gives them that chance to clarify what they really mean. When someone feels understood, their heart softens, walls come down, and true connection happens. By the way, if you ever find your spouse repeating yourself, or they get frustrated and they say, "You're just not listening," well, what you're doing is maybe you're hearing their words, but you're not understanding. And even if you do understand, you're not expressing that so that they will feel understood. So follow this little tip. "What I hear you saying is," and then repeat it back to them in your own words, or even just word for word what you hear them saying is, and then what you think they might be feeling. This is huge, guys, and it's a game changer. By the way, are these suggestions helpful? Well, I make marriage strengthening videos and post them every day. So hit the subscribe button now and that little bell so that you can get them all. Principle number 4 is this: be generous with your service. Philippians 2:4 says this: "Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others." Generous listening doesn't stop at hearing. It leads to service. It leads to you taking action. When we listen generously, we don't just hear what our spouse is saying. We don't just hear their words. You respond with actions that serve and meet their needs. For example, if they say they miss spending time with you, plan a date night and then surprise them. "Hey, tonight we're going to go out on a date." Or "This Friday we're going to get a babysitter and we're going to go out on a date." If they say they're feeling overwhelmed, step in and help. If they express frustration, acknowledge it rather than dismissing it, and then do something about what they're frustrated. See if you can fix that issue or solve that problem for them or even with them. You see, generous listening asks, how can I serve my spouse in response to what they've just said? How can I serve? How can I give? So pay attention to what they say, and then, if possible, do something about it. Serving through listening means showing your spouse that their words matter enough to influence your actions. So let's put this all together. Listening is one of the greatest gifts that you can give your spouse. It costs nothing, but it means everything. So today, choose to be a generous listener by doing these things: being generous with your attention, giving your spouse your full attention and focus, being generous with your patience, allowing them space to express themselves, being generous with your understanding, making sure that they feel truly heard and understood, and being generous with your service, responding in a way that shows that you care by your actions. By being a generous listener, you're going to build a stronger, deeper, and more godly marriage. By the way, if you want to learn more about this, I suggest you watch this video called "Why Listening is Hard." I'll put the link in the description. Well, may God bless you, and may God bless your marriage.